Anthony, let's take a look at this picture that's posted, or this set of pictures that's posted on the Facebook page, the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks Facebook page. And these are pictures that you guys actually took in Silver City and Rolling Fork, and you were actually up there. Why is it that the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks was there? What were you guys doing?
Yes, sir. So the special response team is a unit within our law enforcement unit, which for Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks conservation officers, and they respond in situations like this: search and rescue, swift water rescue, a lot of different type of search and rescue type roles. And so, this is just another one of those things that those guys can respond to and are trained to respond to and to help out when it's needed.
And some people don't know it, but you guys actually get law enforcement training.
Yeah, so our law enforcement guys and gals, they go to Makota, which is what there's actually a class going through right now, and the Wildlife Bureau comes in and kind of gives a crash course on each different program so they can understand a little bit about what we do and obviously have the training that they have as well. So once Makota is over, then they'll go to Malota, which is the Mississippi Law Enforcement Training Academy, and then go through some field training, and then into the field as law enforcement officers.
So now we're going to get to the crux of why we're talking to biologist Anthony Ballard, who is the black bear program leader for the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. And Anthony, why is there a need for a black bear program in Mississippi? And then why are we having the social media week, the Bear Week on social media?
What I kind of wanted to do with this was just peel back the layers of what the bear program does. A lot of people are not even aware that we have black bears in the state, and so it's really, number one, just to raise awareness of the bear populations within Mississippi, but then also what we do and how we're monitoring those populations, the research that we're doing, the collaborations, and it's just a good, fun way to get a lot of material out there, and it's actually been met with a really good response as well.
All right, so let's go through this a little bit. This is the first post from Bear Week, but here we go with the second or third post here, and this is about the movement of Bruce the bear. So is this a bear that actually has a name that you guys are tracking?
Yeah, so traditionally there's been names given. This was actually named after Bruce Kilburn, who used to be one of our WMA managers that passed several years ago. But this bear was originally collared on Mahana Wildlife Management Area there in the Delta. And then these are the movements that have been tracked. Obviously, this is oversimplified compared to the number of data points that we have, but just the tracks that he's covered since then. So that was spring of 2022 when he was first collared, and he's still out right now roaming around. And the cool part about that is, he's crossed, there's a good number of major highways. There's Highway 61, Highway 3 right there. And then obviously the Yazoo River and Steel Bayou. People think of those as boundaries, and a lot of times they can be hazards for sure, but they're not really much of a hindrance. He's crossed those highways, 9 or 10 times at least, and covered a lot of distance in the process.
Yeah, so boundaries for us maybe, but not so much for the bears.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, a lot of the bears that kind of have established the South Delta area as far as a breeding population goes, a lot of those bears actually came from much more dense populations in either Louisiana or Arkansas.
Okay, scrolling up just a little bit, we want to talk about this next post. So you guys partnered with MSU. What was that partnership all about? What are you guys doing here in these pictures?
So we've partnered with MSU on multiple projects in the deer program. There's the collaring project in the deer program. There's turkey research that's being done. So MSU and MDWFP have had a very long-standing relationship with research partnerships, and this is just another extension of one of those. And so the picture that's up right now is one of the bears that we collared over this summer. That was in August in the South Delta, and again, it's There's a lot of funding opportunity. There's students that are able to come and fulfill their degrees while we're working together, and it's just a really good partnership where both parties benefit. And of course, we've worked toward that goal of finding out more about these animals that call a home.
Okay, and speaking of the ones that call the Delta home, I want to ask before we go on to the next post. Whenever this tornado came through, is there any way of checking on the bears? Any way of finding out how the bears are doing post tornado?
So we do have the collars are equipped with a mortality signal. So if there's a certain number of hours of inactivity from that bear, then it does send us a signal that says, "Hey, this bear might not be alive anymore." But typically, bad weather events are something that bears and other wildlife are very adept at dealing with. And so, and in addition to that, this time of year, a lot of the bears are still in their dens, and so it's really not much of a problem for a bear or some other wildlife than it would be for us, in a city or something like that.
Would you say it's a myth? Is it fair to say it's a myth that bears hibernate?
So hibernation is people think of hibernation as going in and sleeping for the entire winter, and really what bears do is much more of a lighter sleep, and it's for much shorter periods than what people would typically associate with that word hibernation. So we like to use torpor or carnivore and lethargy to describe that, because that's they will come out of the den and forage. They will come out of the den and walk around and even go to multiple den sites within the winter. So it's not like they all go away and you don't see them again until spring.
Okay, so the next post that's up here, I'm going to pull this up again, is called it's Den Day. So we were talking about bears go into their dens. What is Den Day about?
So again, this was just sort of an effort to understand more of the ecology of bears, how they spend these times, and what a bear den in Mississippi might look like. So there you're seeing a picture of a ground den that we actually found in Bolivar County. Some of them are very simple. They're just not much more than depressions in the ground at the base of a tree or in a thicket. And then you have the ones, especially in the South Delta where it floods a lot, you'll see a lot of tree denning. So you'll see dens that are 40, 50. I think our highest one this year was actually 60 feet up in a big cypress tree.
Oh, wow. So one like this.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I did not know that you could actually have a den in a tree where they sleep.
Yep. Absolutely. And as you might understand, they don't quite come out of those dens as often as they might a ground den. But the cypress trees and the older oak trees have a lot of shallow depressions and cavities inside that'll rot out, but the tree will still be perfectly stable, and they can scale that tree without any problem at all, and find a hole to crawl in and do a little bit of sleeping.
So I would assume that if they do have a den in a tree, that it's in a particularly isolated area, probably where they feel like they won't be seen or bothered.
Yeah, and every now and then we'll have somebody that just happens upon a tree, a deer, excuse me, a bear in a tree, but most of the time you could walk right under them and never know they were there.
Okay, so moving along to the next post. Let's see. I was looking at this one earlier. Um, I guess he's none too happy. So again, this is another den check. When you guys check a den, you have to make sure the bear is secure, I guess.
Right. So the way we do the purpose for den checks, to back up a little bit, is to monitor reproduction. It's one of the main things to figure out the health of your population of any animal, is to monitor that reproduction. So those are the reasons why we do that. The bear is obviously going to be isolated inside that den. We sedate the adult female, and so she goes to sleep. We get the cubs out. We'll put what's called a pit tag in them, which is basically a small microchip that will identify that bear. We can scan that bear and identify it for the rest of its life. It's inserted right under the skin, and so we'll take data about how many bears have cubs, how many cubs they had, what were the general health of the cubs, and just take some general data along that. And once you get several years of that, you start to accumulate some pretty good data about reproduction and the population itself.
What is the purpose overall in studying bears in Mississippi? What do we hope to accomplish? Because the population of bears was small at one time, and now it's large again. And here we are devoting a lot of time and money to try and study their habits and their reproduction. What is the end game?
Well, so if you take any game species now that we kind of take for granted, white-tailed deer, eastern wild turkey, those kind of bread and butter game species that we have that we understand that there's a good solid population, a huntable population. The American alligator is another good example. Those were all but extinct, almost completely extirpated from the state around the turn of the century. And so what we hope to do with the bear program, in addition to those other programs, is just to have another conservation story where we can monitor that population up to a point. And bears were a game species historically, and we hope that they can build a good enough population to be a game species again. So Arkansas already has several portions of the state where they can hunt. Florida has recently gotten a season there, and if this continues on this route of success and the population continues to build, then that's something we intend to accomplish with our bear program as well.
All right, one more stop on the Facebook page, and I think a lot of people are going to go, "Oh, look at that, bear cubs! What's going on here? You guys have gloves on. It looks like you're doing kind of a medical check of these bears."
Yeah, so this is just another example of a den check. Again, just kind of showing the measurements that we take and some of the data that we actually try to acquire with all the bears that we come in contact with, cubs or otherwise, and just kind of showing a few pictures there to, number one, to kind of grab the reader's attention, but then to educate about what the bear program is and what it does at the same time.
All right, so is there anything that I haven't asked that you feel like is important to point out about Bear Week on the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks social media page?
So the only other thing I would say would be to stay tuned. We've got some more posts that are happening tomorrow. There's a quiz you can take to test your bear knowledge. There's some other things that are going live on the website. We have a bear observation report map that's being put up, so user can go on and see where other people in the state have seen bears. And we also have a Facebook page that's going to come out where you can share your bear photos and the origins of those photos. So still a lot to come, even though there's only one more day of Bear Week, and so stay tuned.
All right, Anthony Ballard with the Mississippi Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Parks. He's a biologist and specializes in nuisance species, which the bear isn't really a nuisance species, I guess, since we're trying to build the population back up. But you do several other things besides just check on the bears.
Yeah, that's right. It's actually been sort of a transition from nuisance species over to black bears pretty recently over this past winter. So happy to be in that position and enjoying every day of it.
Right. Glad to have you with us again, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.